Hi, I'm Peter Spatafor, co-chair of a group called SOS. This stands for Save Our Students, Save Our Schools, and Save Our State. That's exactly what's on the line in Lansing in the next few weeks, the future of Michigan. That's why we're collaborating with the AARP and others in sponsoring this program tonight. There's a lot on the line and we want to make decisions about our future based on facts, not political philosophies or beliefs, but facts. SOS is a coalition of 16 organizations which represent groups of superintendents, principals, school board members, special education directors, the Michigan High School Athletic Association, and the Michigan Parent-Teacher Student Association. We have about 15,000 members in all. SOS has advocated for more stable and equitable funding for schools, and we've offered a number of suggestions, some of them a bit controversial, to help reduce school district expenditures. Tonight we're here to talk about the governor's budget proposal for this year and next, and what it means for schools, communities, and citizens. In a moment, Eric Snyder, president of AARP Michigan, will walk you through a straightforward and factual analysis of how the budget numbers and proposed tax policy changes affect our state and citizens. Following Mr. Schneiderlin, we'll hear from Shaton Berry. She's the president-elect of Michigan Parent-Teacher Student Association. She'll talk about the impact of the governor's proposal on K-12 education in Michigan. After that, you'll hear live presentations from your local schools and other groups affected by the budget, talking about the specifics of how the budget will affect your local programs and services. For background information, you can go to our website, www.mibudgetfacts.mov, to get useful information that will help you understand and make your case about this important discussion to your lawmakers in Lansing.
My name is Eric Schneiderwin. I am president of the Michigan AARP, and I would like to give you information about the governor's budget plan. The governor's plan starts by closing the $1.5 billion deficit with over $800 million of cuts to our K-12 schools that may cause local tax increases or cuts in property values. With over $140 million of cuts to local communities for services we need, including police and fire protection. With over $200 million of cuts to universities, which force reductions in quality or higher tuition for Michigan residents. And there's no additional money to fix our crumbling roads and bridges. Under the governor's plan, even though individuals will pay $1.7 billion more in taxes, they will get worse services. Entirely separate from the cuts, the governor's plan burdens Michigan seniors and working poor with the majority of $1.7 billion in new taxes. The governor's plan will increase taxes on pensions by more than $900 million. These taxes will fall on any retiree with a substantial pension, many of whom did not plan on hundreds or thousands of dollars of tax increases. The governor's plan will eliminate over $300 million of earned income tax credits to working poor mothers. Under the governor's plan, a working single mother with a minimum wage job will give up a few $100s of tax credits to fund an 86% tax reduction for businesses. The governor's plan will result in a 32% increase in taxes for individuals and increase the share of Michigan taxes paid by individuals from 31% to 41%. And what do seniors and the working poor get for their tax increases? The governor's plan uses all the tax increases to seniors and the poor to fund $1.7 billion of tax reductions for businesses. None of the tax increases on individuals go to reduce the $1.5 billion budget deficit. While seniors and other individuals' share of the state tax burden increases from 31% to 41%, the share paid by business drops 86% to below 2%. This is one of the 3 lowest business tax burdens in the nation. And will the governor's plan produce more jobs? The lieutenant governor has candidly admitted that new jobs cannot be guaranteed with this plan. What if Indiana equals our tax cuts? What if businesses will not come to a state with crumbling roads, failing schools, and high tuition costs? Then we may end up with higher individual taxes, worse services, and no new jobs. Whether you agree or disagree with the governor's plan for Michigan's future, you should contact your state senators and representatives. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Shatine Berry, the incoming president of the Michigan Parent Teacher Student Association. We are 65,000 members strong. We are very concerned about what is happening with the state budget in Lansing. We see huge cuts in programs that affect public education in Michigan and thereby adversely affect the children in Michigan. We understand that these are tough times for Michigan's state budget and that hard choices have to be made. We believe we have an obligation as caring citizens to get the facts and get involved in this very important debate that's going on in Lansing. That's why we are a part of this event and why we are encouraging you to collect the facts for yourself, decide what you think is right, and contact your legislators to express your views. And it must be done quickly. Time is of the essence. Decisions will be made in Lansing in the next 2 weeks that will impact our state and schools for years to come. As you heard from Mr. Snyder, the facts behind what is happening are clear. The governor's budget proposal contains winners and losers. To me, it doesn't seem to fit the definition of shared sacrifice that was discussed during the gubernatorial campaign. But you make that decision for yourself and let your legislators know what you think. The impact of the governor's budget proposal on schools is this. $900 million that has been part of the school aid fund reserved only for K-12 schools in the past will be used for other purposes. The impact to schools is a $470 per student cut instead of $260 per student increase that schools would have otherwise received if Lansing simply left the system alone. On top of the cut of $470 per student, schools will have to pay more for the state-run retirement system with an impact of at least $230 per student. Add those numbers together and the minimum impact on schools is a loss in spending power of $700 per student in 1 year. Additionally, the budget would cut funding to schools for declining enrollment districts, small class size grants, and funding for special education centers. So your school may receive funding cuts of more than $700 per student. Under the governor's proposed budget, K-12 education receives the largest cut of any major program, about 7.3%. But again, that cut would not take effect if Lansing would just leave school aid fund dollars for K-12 school districts as we have in the past. Most schools will be drastically impacted by funding cuts of this magnitude in a single year. We'll see large class sizes, teacher and staff layoffs, fewer programs, and higher costs for students to participate in extracurricular activities. We also know that many schools will have to put off purchasing new technology, textbooks, and maintaining their buildings. The governor's budget proposal also cuts taxes for businesses by a net of $1.1 billion for this year and $1.7 billion for next year. While we don't begrudge those tax cuts, and we understand why the governor is proposing them, we simply feel there must be a better way than what has been proposed. To the Michigan PTSA, education is an economic development issue as well as a human rights issue. Education helps lift children from poverty. Good schools attract families and businesses. We know from research that every dollar spent on early childhood education pays back between $5 and $7 in reduced costs to society and a child's life. Education is a wise investment for Michigan, and that at the very least we should maintain the current funding level. But you need to decide for yourself, as we've said here several times already. If people do nothing, we know what will happen. Funding for schools will be cut, funding for health care will be cut, funding for services to the poor will be cut, and senior citizens will pay higher taxes. These are facts. In the coming hour, please listen to the impact the budget proposal will have on services to your community and make a decision as to your feelings. Then, make a commitment to contact your legislator no later than April 21st to let them know what you'd like them to do. They are your representatives, meaning that they are supposed to represent the view of voters in their districts. Hold them to it. For the Michigan PTSA, it is very simple. Children are our future. They deserve the promise of a bright future, and it is our responsibility as adults to make sure that they receive a quality education.
Thank you, Erica and Chetan, for those informative presentations. While we all understand the need for getting state spending under control and making some basic changes, there is more than one way to accomplish the necessary goals. That's why we're asking you to consider the facts, hear our points of view, and make up your own mind about what's right and what's in the best interest of Michigan and our citizens. You've heard the general case here tonight. For schools, it's fairly simple. The governor's proposed budget transfers just over $1 billion out of the school aid fund, which has historically been used only for K-12 purposes, and spends it on other things. Because of that and other financial demands, every school in the state will have at least $700 per pupil less to spend next year than this year. Some districts will lose more than $1,000 per pupil in spending power. Those are the facts under the governor's proposal. But they don't have to happen if our representatives in Lansing choose a different approach for cutting, or if they phase in the business tax cuts you heard Mr. Snyder talk about. The point is, there are reasonable options to what is being discussed in Lansing right now. There's not one option, there are many. But if legislators don't hear from average citizens like you, they're likely to pass the governor's budget as presented to them and outlined for you here tonight. If that's acceptable to you, you can do nothing, or contact your legislator to express your support. If that's not acceptable to you, you need to act quickly within the next 2 days to contact your legislators and express your views. Either way, we encourage you to get involved and stay informed and make your decision based on the facts. The future of our students, our schools, and our state depends on all of us. Thank you.